Hello, everyone. Welcome to our fourth episode of Balletistan Wednesday Talk. I am impresario of Balletistan Sinan, and today we are with President and the Artistic Director of Russian Ballet Orlando, Katerina Fedotova. Welcome to our program.
No, thank you. How are you doing? Thank you
Doing
for
great.
having me.
It's a pleasure,
Yes.
and we are very happy to have you today. And we will talk about your artistic journey, which is
Oh,
quite illustrious.
it is quite a journey. Kind of been from everything from beginning to from the bottom to the top and all the way around again. Yeah, so it's been definitely an experience, a good journey
and
though.
even like talking to you before, just like to get some tips. I mean, we had a very long conversation, so I'm thinking that today is going to be even longer, like with more
Um,
details.
Probably, probably, probably. There's something about Russians. They like to talk. Some Russians, not all. I know, but definitely, it's not as much as you like to talk. Is that's the thing is, you've been around the world. You've seen a lot. Not like my little kid. Who is not exposed, who has not traveled. It's just there's so many stories and so much experience that you've learned from different people, different parts of the world. That it's a shame not to share it. It's such a great experience that you want to talk about it. People don't want to talk about their bad stories. They want to talk about the good ones, and I had mostly good ones.
And I'm sure that it's going to be very informative and inspiring talk.
I hope
So
so.
if
I
you
hope
don't
so.
mind, I mean, can we go to the very beginning? As far
Yes,
as I know, you are coming from a very artistic family, not just parents, grandparents, and great grandparents,
yes.
all like opera or like ballet dancers. Like, can you tell us about your family and how you started dancing?
Of course, So I'm a fourth generation in ballet. My grandmother, my grandmother, my mom, my dad, my sister, her husband, and me. So I'm the first one out of my family who got married out of the ballet family. The who did not marry into the ballet world, but we everybody else did. Um, my parents were principal dancers for 24 years, and they were national artists of Ukraine in the opera house in Kyiv. They went to the Kyiv Conservatory of the Arts, the conservatory institute where we all trained. Where again, my mom, my dad, my sister, her husband, myself. I was 13 when I came to United States. So of course the training in the United States is not the same as it is here, but definitely starting. It was a benefit starting in Ukraine and be able to get that strict Russian foundation, even though I did not get a chance to graduate from there because we moved to United States, but I got the beginning. And I think that because some of the hardest years of my life, and especially in ballet school, was the first 3 years. It's you literally deal with Russian military in the arts. So it
If you
was
don't mind, let's go back like to your parents, because I have a picture of like one of your father's partner. We
yes,
hosted
please.
her in Istanbul.
Oh yes. Oh my gosh,
Mrs. Raisa Hilko.
Hilko,
Like
yes,
she gave.
my father was a principal dancer, and uh he was very unique for me. He's very tall. He's 6'2", and he looks like Spartacus. So he was amazing partner. He did not like taking class, but he loved to dance. And when he went on stage, he was incredible. There were ballets like Spartacus that was choreographed just for him. He is strong and tall, and dancers from around the world, wanted to dance with him. He got contracts. He's been all over the world dancing all the top um, companies around the world, not just in Europe. I mean Asia and South America, everywhere, and because he was just an incredible partner. So he was very fortunate to have uh, to uh, to have a great repertoire of performances, and amazing dancers and dance
So
partners.
you basically grew up in like opera house, right? I mean, like your
I
mother
did.
too.
I did. So my mom was a principal dancer. They both graduated from the Gytis University in the Moscow. But I've grown up in a theater. I think I spent more time sleeping in principal dancers' dressing rooms than I did in my own house. I remember falling asleep and my dad, carrying me over out of the house after the performance, down the hill and up the hill, to our apartment. And but I loved I so glad, that I got a chance to experience that. I saw people, not just, I saw dancers not on stage, I saw them backstage. I fell in love with ballet not because, I like to dance and because they look pretty in a tutu. Is all the scenery and all the drama that you see them in their dressing rooms, what they talk about, how they receive flowers, how they go on stage, what they do before they go on stage, when they get hurt, when they are in pain, the tears, the joy, the flowers and the satisfaction, when they fall on stage, the emotions that they feel. It's and how they prepare, the mental preparation, not only just the physical but the mental preparation. And it was incredible. It was something that you fall in love with. And I got a chance to hear from principal dancers like, from Hilko to Filipiva. They taught me little things about how do you tie your point shoe. The reason why you do this is to respect for point shoes. There is a how you tie your shoes, how you put on a leotard, how you do your bun. It was just certain things, why is the flower always goes on the right side, instead of the left, So there's those little things, sticks to you, and I have heard them all throughout my life, all throughout my childhood. My bedtime stories were not about fairy tales and Tinkerbell. They were ballet history stories about how Spartacus, escaped, and how Carmen died, and how Sleeping Beauty fell asleep, and how she got woken up. So I got told more of a dramatic stories instead of fairy tales.
How sweet. And by the way, like, was your beginning to dance like organic, like you wanted to dance, or it was your
Yes,
parents?
I have an older sister. She is 10 years older than me. So pretty much I was growing up almost having two moms. So it was not sometimes not the most pleasurable one in your body. It was uh, definitely a challenge because you are the youngest family member and you're going into the ballet family, into the ballet world where your expectations are set very, very high. So you cannot fail. There's not such a thing as failure. You have to get into the conservatory. My sister did not as much enjoy the ballet world at the beginning as much as I did. So she was a little bit pushed into it, but again, she was the first child of our family, and now she loves it. She has her wonderful school in Sarasota. Um, but I liked it from the very beginning. I was given the God gave me a great potential, great genetics with great feet and legs and turns, jumps. I was very coordinated and I was extremely dramatic, too. So for me, performing came easily, and I loved it. I loved it. I loved it. I had an amazing first ballet teacher, Natalia Shitikova. She made us fall in love with ballet. We were terrified of her, but she loved us. She gave us hugs and kisses, and yelled at us and kicked us out of class. But it was a positive experience. Where the afterwards, she retired, and we had another teacher came in, and she was not as much of a fan of kids. She was not as good with younger students as much as she was. She was a beautiful ballerina, Larisa Abovska. She was a wonderful ballerina, a close friend of my family, but the experience was not as warming, So that was a hard year, but it was a hard year for everybody because we also lost one of our first love, our first love teacher, and then any kind of replacement that would have ever came after her would not have ever stood up to the first one, to Natalia. So it was, I
Yes.
understand, it was also hard for her to deal with us, when we loved her, the other person, so much. Oh.
So this was in like Kyiv State Ballet School or before
Correct.
it?
Yes,
Yeah,
so
okay.
that was in a Kiev State Ballet School. So yeah, we when we auditioned, I went through the same audition with hundreds and hundreds of people auditioning for the spot. Usually they take 15 girls and 15 guys per year, and my year they took 16 girls and 16 guys. So being one of those 16 girls to make it. Russian dancers are the best, not because we are better than anybody else. We are hand chosen. Hand chosen by the way, your neck, your shoulders. They, if your foot is not the right size, if your knee is does not look how it's supposed to look, you're out. So be chosen and be told that you are one of the that you fall into that 1% of being perfect. It's definitely it's an honor. It's terrifying, but it yeah.
Another thing is like you have like fantastic classmates. Like they all like turn out to be great artists and dancers, and
They did,
like most of whom I know personally somehow.
yes, no, no. Actually, so out of being grown up for so many generations in the opera house, we had um, I've looked at all of the classmates, and I think one of my class has the most success stories from all the graduates, than any other class. So I'm very happy, very proud of my classmates, and it was definitely I'm glad that I was there.
So now, like you are also, of course, artistic director, and you are teaching as well. Like my next question is, like your time as a student in Kyiv ballet school. Like how did it affect your love of teaching or style of teaching?
Well, everything I teach based on everything how I was taught the first 3 years. So the whole foundation passes on to my students now based on those first 3 years. Like the foundation of it. The technique part, my when I moved to United States, my parents became my teachers. So my mom graduated me. My dad gave me my mom gave me the technique, the strength. My dad taught me the performance, the choreography part of it. But when I start teaching 19 years ago. So I've been teaching for almost 2 decades. But when I start teaching the levels, the ages 4 through 12, the foundation was everything that I've learned in the Kyiv school. So it was definitely the basic of everything. And if I was not there, I would not be the teacher that I am today. I would not have the school that I have today, and probably not have a lot of things. But
So when did your family decide to move to the US? Can you like tell us about that?
well, so my father is a world-renowned choreographer. So he has every year he used to receive 2 to 3 different contracts in different countries. Um, he would take a look and see which ones. So we would usually spend a month, the winter month in like Yugoslavia, and then we will spend 3 months in Spain, or we spend 2 months in Korea, or a month and a half in Portugal, or Latvia, or anywhere. So we have traveled quite a bit, about almost two to three times a year. We were in a different country since I was born, and we got a chance to work in different theaters. So I got backstage not only at the opera house. I spent my life in theaters around the world, being backstage and being the little stage rat. um, but I'm sorry. What was the what was the
Uh,
question? What were you,
oh, when did you move
oh, when
to
did
the
I move?
US? You
Yes.
were
So
like at
yes,
what age?
I know I get tracked away sometimes. So my father received a contract with the United States and a small um, from the Cypress Gardens, which is it's a theme park. It's a theme park in Central Florida, right in the middle of Florida. And they used to have 3 different shows, and they had a performance. They had an ice show. So it's a small little theater on ice, and they asked him to do choreographed Nutcracker performance for 30 minutes to do it on ice. And my father, a few years back, he got bored with ballet, and he decided to open up his own ice company. It was Kyiv on Ice. So we toured in Spain and Korea for quite a long time with the performances. But he went to United States in '96, and he choreographed the performance. And in the audience, they were sitting Barbara Reagans, who was the founder of Southern Ballet Theater, which is the Orlando's first professional company, who's been existed for 40, 50 years. but she saw the performance and she could not believe that you can do a 2 hour performance within 30 minutes and have and to do it on ice on a small stage. So when she went backstage, she asked one of the workers there, who is the person who choreographed the performance, and they pointed out to my dad. They said, "Oh, it's that guy over there sitting on the back." And she came up to him. She introduced herself, and she found out that he was a ballet. He was a choreographer. And she goes, "I have a ballet company in Orlando. Can you please drive up and teach a class?" So he did. He asked a friend, because he was new. He was only been in the United States for a couple of months, so he didn't have a car. He didn't have a car or anything, and our family could not go because it was my school year in a conservatory. So he went. He taught a class. I don't think he spoke a word of English. It was a full Russian class, with French terminology, and they would not let him go. They automatically, right that day, she offered him a 1 year contract for this amount of money. He's like, no. He goes, 2 years, this price. He's like, no. And he goes, 3 years, this much. And he's like, hold on. So he picks up the phone and he calls my mom and he goes, "Sweetheart, do you want to move to America for a year, 2, 3?" So my mom yelled at him, "This, you're crazy. We have our life here. Katya is in a conservatory. We are in a school. So, our lives are there. We have built everything there, and all of a sudden just leave and start all over in the country that we have. We don't know the language. We don't know the people. We don't know anything about it. We've never been to the United States. And we made a decision to move. The decision was a very difficult decision because, well, one is that we could not move all at the same time. We had to take turns to receiving a visa. I mean, it's my dad and my mom and my dad, me and my sister. So my father already had a 3 year visa that he could go in and out. So then I applied in March. I applied in February. We had to take a train to Moscow, and we have applied for a visa for me. And I got a stamp in my passport, says it's approved. My mom and my sister applied a couple of months later, and they got denied. So then you get to go again, so they went next month, got denied again. The way it was 23 years ago, if you get 3 denials, 3 rejections in your passport, you cannot leave the country for 7 years. Oh. So they ended up splitting apart, and my mom went by herself, and she got approved. My sis, and she moved here. So my dad came here in 96, September of 96. My dog came here in January of 97. January of 97. I came March 1st of 97. My mom came on the 4th of July of 97. And on the 4th of July, as she was flying into the New York JFK airport, all the fireworks were going off. So she thought the fireworks were for her, welcoming her to the United States. My mom is a principal dancer, so she's like this very dramatic ballerina. Everything is always about her. She's one of a kind. And so the fireworks was for her. And my sister came about 6 months later. So we did not, it was just too close, so she had to wait another 6 months to attempt. And then my sister, and then my sister,
be difficult for you to leave like your friends in Kyiv ballet school.
It was, so yes and no. So my sister's husband, came in 98, and leaving, I was excited. I don't remember being sad to leave my friends. I was actually excited for the new journey, but I was sad to leave, not as much as my friends, as much as my home, like the city itself. I knew that I was going to miss the streets, the playgrounds. I knew that I was going to miss my friends, but the conservatory, I think it was more about. I'm gonna cry.
I mean, even though I've been to Kyiv as a tourist, I feel like it as my second home. It's a city that I am also missing a lot right now. As soon as the travel restrictions end, Kyiv one of the first like
It's
cities that I would like to visit.
Yeah, you know what? I've been before I moved to United States. I've been to 22 different countries. So plus, by now it's maybe 35 or 40 countries, that I've traveled, and I'm I love them all. Some are had a better impression than others, but at the end, I think I enjoyed most of them. But still, going back out of all of them, I'll go back to Kiev. That would be my I don't know. There's something different about the streets, how you walk the streets, the buildings, the people. You go to Moscow, it's a little bit more not as friendly. It's more
Hmm.
cold, not temperature, atmosphere wise. It's more just
I know what you
how it
mean.
makes you feel.
Yes.
St. Petersburg is beautiful. You can't beat St. Petersburg, but again, it doesn't feel like home. So, and again, I have
Right.
not lived in Kiev in the 23 years. My home is United States, and Orlando is my home. It's my country. My work is here. My family is here. I'm not going to move back
Right.
because again, everything is here. But my heart is still in Ukraine. Not in just in Ukraine, in Kiev. I've
I
grown
know
up.
what you mean.
It's hold a special place in my heart. Even though that I was 12 when I moved, you would think that you would remember as much, or would not have such an impact. But when I came home, I was there in last March, a year ago,
Hmm.
and it
For
was
a Grand Prix Kiev, right?
correct. It was, and I took a couple of my students. It was last minute decision, so a lot of my students could not move. It was spring break, so a lot of them were already going out of the country, so they were not able to. But I took a couple, and that was definitely an excuse, to get away from work and go visit my home country, which I haven't been to since for about 14 years prior to that. So it was,
Seriously, yeah,
yeah.
14 years. That must be emotional. So you are 12 years old in the US, so I suppose like you learned the language quickly,
Uh,
like at this young age,
I did.
etc.
I did. I went straight to public school, so I went to school, so I learned the conversational language very fast. But I still was not able to read, and the vocabulary was very small. But they took me out of the English learning classes because I passed the test. I was guessing with my eyes closed, and they took me out of, and they put me into regular with all the Americans, put me into English one classes, and I have no idea how I passed school, but I did, and I did very good in math. I was a very good student, but I also it was hard for me to understand history, to read, and history, science, uh, uh, all the economic classes. It was challenging because I did not speak English. I could talk, but I did not have the perfect English. So it was hard, but I learned it very fast. And
But I can teach you like economics anytime,
okay, deal. Please don't. No, I had to take when I took the citizenship test for to become American citizen. I My attorney was. I mean, I know all the terminologies and I know the concept of everything. It's just there are certain tests, there are certain questions that you don't talk about on a daily basis because you're in the ballet world. You talk about performances, costumes, makeup, and how combinations and fundraisings, and what we're going to do next. We don't really have a political conversation. So I definitely had to learn a lot, and I did not realize how interesting the politics would be, and everything that goes into uh, running the government and how the United States operates. And it was pretty pretty educating, and realizing that majority of the Americans don't even know the answers to all those questions. So it was good to learn.
uh, what about a ballet? Like, what sort of like training did you get?
In ballet, well,
Yeah,
I
in the
started with
US.
it. So I started in conservatory, in the Kedehu, in the Kyiv Conservatory, and then
Like I meant in the US, like when
yes,
you moved to the
so I
US.
started there. When I moved to US, my parents were working for Southern Ballet Theater, which is now currently they changed their name and it's called the Orlando Ballet. So I was at the
Hmm.
Orlando Ballet School for 3 years. My mom was the ballet mistress. My father was the resident choreographer. So they became my teachers. I had a couple of other ones in between, but my mom, um, coming straight from Ukraine to Orlando to United States, we did not. It took us a little bit to adjust to how they train here, and how for us it was a little bit more serious. So definitely when she saw the attention of the other teachers and their curriculum, she wanted me to be in her class. And I ended up being the only 13-year-old with 17-year-olds the class, and it definitely pushed me a little bit more. After 3 years working for Orlando Ballet, we it was a little bit of a challenge, just more of a respect towards the arts and how the ballet was treated here. Again, this is going back 23 years ago. So after 3 years working for the company, we decided for us, to either go back or to open up our own, because if we cannot just be there's more to ballet than what we were offered and what we were able to give. So in 2000, we ended up opening up our own studio, and I was 15, 16 years old, turning 16. And then after my mom was teaching me at Orlando Ballet for 3 years, she became my coach at our school at the Russian Academy of Ballet.
So can you say that like the training is not that much different than Kyiv State Ballet School, or like are there some differences?
Like my training?
Yeah.
Or yeah, no, it's no, my
By
mom
your
is.
parents?
Yeah, no, my parents trained me like a full-on Russian conservatory, and it was actually, but on top of that, so in school and in conservatories, you train, you have exams, but it's only just class, and you have very small performances. Where at the age of 15, when you're opening up our school, I got a chance not only train on the same level, but I also got a chance to perform. So since the age of 15, I was performing principal soloist roles. So I did everything from Sugar Plum to Swan Lake and Sleeping Beauty. I did all of those roles throughout my teens, which none of the
Starting
dancers
from
in
the age of 15, right?
yeah.
That's remarkable.
Well, it's again, I had a good foundation, I had a good teacher, I had a good coach, so when my mom prepared me for the roles, at the age of 15, 16, you never thought, you'll be able to do Kitri variation, on the same level as a professional. You just don't, they don't teach that in the conservatory, until you get a little bit older. So I got a chance to start my dancing career, not just the school academic learning the basic, the foundation, the training career, but actually the dancing career started earlier than majority of the dancers in Ukraine or anywhere else.
Right. And like, can you tell us about the roles that you danced in the
Roles,
company?
I've danced everything from the Nutcracker, Swan Lake, Don Quixote, Sleeping Beauty, Snow White, Cinderella. So I've danced. I'm tall, so I'm not a small little 5'2" ballerina. I'm 5'10", so I don't know how much it is in centimeters, but I'm 5 feet 10 inches. So I'm pretty tall for a dancer. My roles, and when I was younger, I did the Sugar Plum and I did the Nutcracker Paw, but then growing older, I had more of character roles. Character more like the principal roles, the ballets that my dad choreographed that were specially made for you. So, for example, in Snow White, in our Snow White in Kyiv, the witch, Karabos, is a man dressed in it's a more like a drag character, extremely important. Without those character roles, you don't have a performance. But in my dad's version, my dad did a full-on classical choreography where it's on point. It's nothing but Italian fuite, turns, jumps. So it is a harder role than Snow White itself. In Cinderella, I was the stepmother. I was the best stepmother, my mom said, she has ever seen in the world. So I had a big nose that was glued on, and my oldest sister, who is 10 years older than me, she's a little bit shorter, and she played the stepsister. So I'm the younger sister who's playing her mom, and I had to like, there's a lot of it's a little bit of it's like a very comedy performance, very funny, but then there are a lot of a lot of abuse going on, like spanking this. I might have enjoyed it just a little bit more. Then I'm like, grab her by the neck, and she's like, this is for everything how you tortured me when I was a kid. Payback. So my dad also did a lot of very classical solo variations and lots of dances like Indian jazz, my Giselle. So you got a chance to perform very specific roles that were choreographed just for you. So it was nice. I have a huge repertoire. I have over 20, maybe 25 different principal roles that I have danced plus.
You are lucky in the sense that like your parents like choreograph like roles for you, right?
Yes, yes. So and of course, they choreographed it based on what I do the best too.
Right.
So no, but I mean, it was definitely a challenge. But they have pushed my limits. They have pushed me, pretty far. And there's not such a thing as failure in my family. So you have to live up to their name and to their expectations.
Yeah.
It was.
Like I wonder like what you talk like during the Christmas dinner, like all artists.
You don't want to be at our Christmas dinner. We have a very close family. So our family is like, it's we are very, very close. So we talk on the phone once or twice a day. Um, so we love each other unconditionally. But to talk about work in our household at a dinner table, run. If we start talking about ballet, just walk away. Like, you don't want to be there, because at some point, there's going to be some kind of a disagreement or some kind of this, and every one of us have an opinion about this or that, or how it should be done. And, not bad ones. It's just, I'm the youngest family member, so since I'm the youngest, I technically supposed to know the least. Know, um, my opinion, my voice does not is not as important as my mom's and my sister's. So, but I did happen to have, when I opened up the school and started teaching, and I expanded. I do have, out of my whole family, I do have the largest studio. I have the most programs. I have the more performances than both of my parents and my sister's schools combined together. We have more programs, and it's a bigger building. But it was all but yeah, so our dinners are discussed. We cannot discuss work, because if we do, it's, imagine, four, or just one, two, three, four, five. So it is my mom and my dad, my sister and her husband, and me. So it's five artistic directors that are sitting at one table and trying to talk about a topic. It's going to
Hmm.
be five different discussions, five different arguments, five different opinions, and one is going to be fighting just to say a word. it's
Yeah.
it's entertaining, definitely. It's some of my fondest memories, but it's also, um yeah.
Yeah. We should have
Hard.
like a like group interview next time, you know.
Oh my god, I'm gone now. I'm leaving
That
now.
would be entertaining.
I'm leaving now. The good thing is my English is better than theirs, so maybe I'll be able to speak more during that conversation than I can at my own house, at my house, at our home table. So
Right. And like you said that you've been to so many different countries, right? I mean,
yeah,
like
it's
what is your favorite venue and like touristic destination?
okay. I have, I actually, I was speaking to that, to my administrative director. I was going over the couple of questions, and one of them, I had an opportunity to perform all around the world, and some of the best stages, that a person could ever have a pleasure of stepping their foot of, have been. But those are not the stages that you remember the most. Um, of course, Kiev is my home. The Opera House is my home. That's my favorite stage, my favorite place in the world. But but the most memorable ones are the ones that were not perfect, the ones that were not the biggest, the ones, that had bats flying across the stage, the ones that had, the floor was so slanted that, the rank was so high that we could not even wear pointers because we were sliding. I don't really have a favorite venue. I have the Opera House as my first and only love in Kiev, as the
Eh,
stage wise. But the ones that I remember the most are the stages that were not perfect. Things like in Colombia, in Bogota, when we arrived and we were doing a press conference um, at their center, right in downtown Bogota. We were presenting like a small, for a press conference, the second act coda waltz of Cinderella, right? And it's this big grand masterpiece, by Prokofiev, and it's one of my favorite
mhm.
musics too. One of my favorite waltz is the Cinderella. But you step back a couple of minutes of the entrance, Cinderella comes out, and then we're standing on stage, and over the sound, we're like, we can't breathe, because the elevation is so high,
Wow.
that we did not realize that when you dance, you can't breathe. So we had oxygen tanks on the sides, and we are standing on
Wow.
stage, we are waiting for Cinderella to do her little solo, and my sister and I will look at each other, we're like, we can't race on this. I mean, it was amazing stage and venue, but you remember the stage because based on what happened on the stage, not the
Hmm.
experience it is dancing. It is just there.
Right.
There, I don't know. There's not a favorite one. It's just every one of them have a story that relates to something that makes it your favorite one. But there's
Hmm.
dozens of them.
And like, how long did you dance in total?
I retired when I was 27. So 17 years, 18
Hmm.
years, so I continued the last couple of years, that I still danced. I did not take class. I not that I did not class. I did limited class because I was teaching so much, and running your school and dancing at the same time was almost impossible. It's the teaching part in you out of it, and it's already 4 to 6 hours out of the day, and then you have rehearsals for a couple of hours. But then on top of that, you have a school to run. So all the registrations, phone calls, everything that comes into administrative work, you do that for the other 4 or 5 hours throughout the day. So unless I get to this office at 8 a.m. and do my own 2 hour class, that's the only way that I would have continued dancing. But I also would like to have a social life. I would like to have friends and I had had a fiance, a boyfriend, that I dated. I would like to be able to go and have dinner, and I had to choose to either dance, teach, and work myself to death, or build a life, build a career, and I had to choose. I had to make a choice. So I chose to stop dancing and concentrate on building my life, my career, and my future. Uh, so,
So we have like
oh
a short clip of your
yeah,
fragments of some of the dances.
yeah. So hold on one second. So this is actually a very special piece. So before we play it, again, just to retract back, this is about a year and a half of me not taking class, consistent class. So of course, the shahs and this, and your back is slowly going out. But this piece, when my dad asked me, we were doing this gala performance, and this one piece, Edith Piaf is based on Edith Piaf, the French singer, um, about her addictions. So throughout the dance, you will see her, doing how she lives, towards the light. How she always hopes, for something. And it would be great if I can uh, do a little bit of narration while the video plays,
Oh,
because
so
that
like we are gonna like play like
yeah,
video very
just
soon.
but the
One
thing is,
second.
yeah, but the thing is about this video, my dad choreographed this piece for somebody else about 30 years ago. Maybe now it's maybe 40 years ago, maybe 40, 45 years ago. So a long time. The costume that is on that video is the original costume that was worn uh, 30, 40 years ago. Then my sister did this dance as her graduation from the conservatory, from the choreographic school. And then Tatiana Andreeva, who is another principal dancer with the kid, so she have danced this. And I remember my mom practicing this dance with Tatiana and with my sister since I was a kid. And it was so difficult. I remember the frustration of it, was to catch the emotions, the fall, just the
Uh,
feelings behind it. It
by
was
the way, like
so,
Katya, it must be like on your computer. By the way, I mixed it up. Maybe like
yeah,
you
it
start.
is on mine. Do I have to play it? Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Can you like turn off the sound first
turn off the sound.
of the YouTube video?
Oh, okay, it's off.
Yeah.
Do you
Like,
want me
can you
to play
play?
it?
Yeah, please. And now, like we can talk about the video
So,
while it's playing.
so I remember my mom rehearsing this with it, and she could never get it right, with the dancers. And then oh, and then I end up showing it to her, and I asked her to do it if I can do it,
Hmm.
and I did it for her, and she's like, no correction. so, So this is Edith Piaf, her being in pain, that she is, she's an addict,
Mm-hmm.
and she's constantly reaching for help, to oh, where's the
Like the video
video?
is like breaking, but I mean, you can keep like describing the
Yeah.
video.
Can we see the video?
I think the it is
Oh, okay,
breaking a
there
little
you
bit.
go.
Yeah.
So this piece was very emotional, and to go off finishing to finish my dancing career with the piece that I've seen being rehearsed and performed since I was a kid, and I'm the last one as of right now. I'm the last person who has ever performed it. And some of my students asked me to. So this is, she hopes and she prays to God, that there's light at the end of the tunnel.
Mm-hmm.
And all she loves to sing, and that's all that she wants to give to the world. So that
Uh, what was the like score of this ballet, like from her music?
it's from this is a Chopin piece.
Ah, okay.
And then she sees herself, dead, and she's realizing that there's not the light at the end of the tunnel is gonna go dark, and she goes from the beginning. She starts from the and she prays and reaches to God, for help. And again, she collapses down, but then she doesn't give up. She keeps on trying.
La Vie en Rose, like the light is also purple, like pink, right?
Hmm. And again, she's back to the. And again, help. She reaches out to everybody, and nobody is there to support her.
I would like to send some hugs to.
What?
I would like to send some hugs.
Oh no. And at the end, so this part, she feels, that the wall is crumbling on her, and she dies at the very end. So as
Uh,
my dancing career died, Edith Piaf died too.
like what a
And
meaningful
then,
ending.
yeah, it means a lot to me. So to performance, so it was not my best performance by far, just because again, I was not in the I was not in the best shape, as for a dancer, but the piece itself, was meant for me to perform. Was meant a lot for me to perform, so, and I refuse to pass it on. So it is up to me to who is dancing it next, since I'm the last one to dance it, and I am not ready to pass it on yet.
Uh,
That's what I'm still holding on to.
and I think like for the audience, like what matters is like conveying the feelings, right? I mean,
Correct.
so
Correct. There's that's the difference between I can proudly say that the difference between our school, the Russian ballet, and Russian Ballet Orlando and other schools is that we are not only teaching a good training, good Falganova foundation, but we also teach dancers how to perform. I'm a very dramatic performer, and I got it from my parents, from both of my parents. Um, but it's about learning how to perform, how to express the feelings, how to make the audience cry and believe, get them to worry, get them to feel what you're feeling, and make them laugh. I mean, the ballet is never a dull, pretty tutu and a tiara. Ballet is theater, it's drama, it is emotions, it's love, pain, hurts, hatred. We have that all, and at the end of the day, it's a love story. Every ballet is a love story, and people don't believe at love at first sight. And I do. I do. You fall in love on stage. I met my husband, and we got married a month later. After exactly 1 month dating, 4 weeks, but it was love at first sight. So if you believe in it, you live in it, and it might happen.
That's why like we go to the like theater because like we believe like in these feelings basically, and we want to feel that in intensity for a couple of hours.
We do, and it's sad, that it's sad that a lot of the dancers no longer treat ballet as it's their life. They treat it as their job. When it's your job, and you do for a paycheck, you just do it. There's not emotional attachment to it. But when it's a part of your life, it's uh, it's a different presentation. You don't go see a worker dance. You go see a performer perform and live on stage. That's a different performance. But to be able to do that, you have to love what you do, like truly, truly, truly be in love with what you do. And there's not a lot of people in love that.
So you become a teacher now, like and teaching like Vagonova method.
Yes, so we
That's
are full on strict Vaganova method in here. So all of the teachers are Vaganova trained. We follow all the curriculum, year by year. We have wonderful students who actually came from other schools who only attended like once or twice a week. And they come into our school and they're just like, oh my gosh, this is ballet. I never knew. So I'll take the credit, for inspiring the kids, to dance and to
so
definitely realizing what ballet is really about.
like in the US, like can you say that there are other like mainstream techniques that
Well,
some schools use
so
other
they
than
have,
Vagonova?
yeah, senior. So Vaganova is not the most popular training in United States just because it's if you have a Vaganova school, it's rare. Those are very good schools, but because excuse me, because there are so many schools in US, like in Orlando, there are about 60 ballet schools in Orlando. So do you really think there are going to be 60 good ballet teachers? I mean, you're lucky to find one or two. So I mean, the teachers are very rare, but imagine how many cities are in Florida, how many big
Hmm.
cities are in the country. So do you really think, they're just as good? Do you think there are just as many good ballet teachers as there are schools? No, there's not. So you have a small percentage of very good teachers, who train. It's not about a school. It has nothing to do with your school. It has to do with who is your teacher. I've had my share of not satisfying teachers too. I mean, they're no longer here, but I did give them a test and they did not produce to my expectations, so they're no longer here. But I did who did not grow the class. But imagine uh, there are thousands of not very rewarding ballet teachers, who don't grow the kids, who don't produce what they required, and they pretty much waste talent. It's sad, but it is the truth. I mean, where can you? I mean, it's very rare to find good ballet teachers. So even I know when I don't teach for a week, my students miss me. They're like, we need you. We need the challenge. We need you to smack us in the butts, and you know, get us to do things to motivate. Some people, just not everybody has that teaching abilities, and you don't have to be the best principal dancer or be the best dancer in the world, to be able to be a teacher. Just because you can dance doesn't mean you can teach. So it doesn't mean that you can perform either. So I was given ability. I mean, you have three. You either a teacher, a dancer, or a choreographer. You barely ever hold three. My dad was a wonderful dancer. He hates to teach. My mom forces him to teach. But he doesn't like it. It is boring. But he loves to choreograph. So he was a great dancer and a great choreographer. My mom is a great teacher, a great dancer. Does not do choreography. My dad does it. So there's two. For me, I dance good, but my dancing career ended, shorter. So teaching became my passion. That it was I was ended up being very pretty good at it, and developing, working, finding out, how do you say it? I found a connection with my students that is very rare to find. That all of the students who were being a part of my class, they stayed with me for 5 to 10, 15 years at a time, because they build this bond, they trust, and they saw the progress and the growth over their years dancing with me. And then choreography became second, became third. So of course I started choreographing, and it came naturally because again, I have the genetics from my dad. I'm definitely still learning, but I have choreographed my own performances. Like I've restaged and choreographed my own Swan Lake, Esmeralda, Sleeping Beauty, Carmen, Cinderella, The Nutcracker is mine. Wow, Capella restage and pretty much choreographed. All of those ballets. I keep the original variations
Mhm.
like Don Quixote. You cannot change the Grandpa Adagio. You cannot change the Kitcher variation from Act One. It's traditional, but to restage it and change. Oh, La Bayadere was one of my favorites too. I did the whole La Bayadere by myself. Everything besides the Adagios, and I kept the same. I even changed the shades. Kept the shades entrance, but I changed everything else. I mean, it turned out wonderful. I mean, it's an inspiration. And so I'm still learning how to do all three of them, but I've been holding the three part position for a while because it's just me at the school and my staff. But I hold the
Uh,
artistic director position that it covers them all.
was the like choreographic skills in your blood? Like, I mean, do you have some inspiration for that?
Yes, music. Uh, I I I get inspired by a certain score. So, for example, I got in. I've never really seen a full Esmeralda ballet just because it was never played in the Kyiv Opera House. We've never presented it in here. But then um, I saw YouTube release the Bolshoi Theater channel. They released on their channel pieces of their Esmeralda that they have redid years back with Asipova. And Asipova is one of I love Asipova, and she's some roles I like more than others, but the way she performed Esmeralda was very, very emotional and very dramatic, and it was a perfect, I think, one of her best performances that she has ever done.
She's feisty, right? Very energetic.
She is, so the thing is, she's a very powerful dancer. Her jumps are incredible. She will jump over my head by three times three. It's ridiculous. Doesn't have the best feet, but she is one of those dancers that goes on stage and you will fall in love with her. She gets your attention. But Esmeralda is a very different ballet. She is not a feisty person there. She is she's a girl, a dancer who is who doesn't have the best reputation, but it's the thing is the innocence of the performance and how she falls in love and the heartbreak that she feels when she sees them being engaged and Feb being engaged to the princess, and just the dramatic variations, the end piece when she is being hung, that walk that she does, with on the stage with the chorus singing, and how emotional it is, when they reunite again and they meet and he's not dead. It just There's so many pieces to it. So I watched the ending of that ballet without even seeing the first act. So I just saw the end of her execution, um, and I decided to do it. So without even seeing ballet, I announced it into the season that we're going to do Esmeralda on this day, this and this and this and this. And then after I announced it, after I released it, I started listening to the music, and I started watching videos, and I was like, oh, this is even better than I thought. So um, so yeah, I usually find something, that's one piece that inspires me, and if one piece can inspire me, then the whole ballet should inspire you too. So I
So, like, can you tell us about one typical school year? Like, how many performances do you have
Oh,
each year?
we are the one of the largest pre-professional student companies in the country. So we do between 20 to 30 shows a year on the regular school year. So for example, um, we had just this last 1920 season. We had in July, we finished our summer intensive with a full production of Giselle. We had Konstantin Pazharnevsky, who is the principal dancer at the Kyiv Opera House. I fly him in for my summer intensive for about a couple of weeks to practice, to train and teach master classes with my students, and then he performs the show. So we have finished with Giselle. We did in October, we did Capella at the Dr. Phillips Performing Arts Center. We did a couple of shows of Capella. We had 10 Nutcrackers between the tours of Orlando and Miami. So we have a big tour bus that we travel. So within one season, a dancer does not just do one cast. I had 7 different casts. So 10 performances, 7 casts. So that means you have to prepare each dancer, each of the soloists or principals for at least 3 to 4 different roles. So they don't just have Clara, they have a Snow Queen or Palace Queen or Spanish or Arabian. So those pieces are a very soloist, big principal pieces, but you prepare multiple casts. So it gives opportunity for the dancers to perform more than just one part.
Uh, Most of the ballet schools don't give that much opportunity to the students, right? I mean,
No, no, no. So usually the kids, so all of the performances are always done by the company members, but there's no opportunity for the students to perform. So how is the dancer? So if you are an academy, you have a school, how do you expect to graduate a dancer and have her opportunity to get into a professional ballet company without performance experience? You can't. If I was a president, artistic director of American Ballet Theater in New York, I want a dancer who can dance, not who can do good class and have pretty feet and who can do 4 or 5 turns. I want a person who can go on stage and make me cry. But how do you develop that skill? Just because you do good class and you have extensions behind your ears does not mean that you can dance. So why, if I was artistic director of ABT, why would I need a pretty dancer? I need a beautiful performer, an experienced performer that I can rely on. The one that is going to make the audience fall in love with the performance, with the company, with you. So, and that's where we come in. That's where Russian Ballet Orlando, my whole company is based on not only class, but performances, to building your resume. So by the time you graduate at the age of 18, you have a full resume of performances that you have done, the teachers that you have trained with, the coaches, the tours that you have done, not just locally, but also internationally. So we don't do as many competitions because competitions are mostly for students to be able to gain experience going on stage. My dancers are on stage 30 times a year. That is more sometimes that is more than some professional companies do throughout their season. So after the
especially
knocker,
now. Yeah. Yeah.
what? Yeah, I mean, especially now. So our season ended unfortunately a little bit shorter just due to the COVID-19, due to the coronavirus. But after the Nutcracker, we were scheduled to do Carmen with opera. So I work with Opera Orlando, and Carmen is one of my first ballets that I have choreographed. And I
Mhm.
did my whole full version of it. I got inspired. My dad choreographed it about 30 years ago, but it was my inspiration. This one pas de deux that my dad did. And so I took one piece of the original, my dad's choreography, and I based everything else off of that. Is when Jose gets out of jail and he runs
Mhm.
to her to, I want to be with you, and she turns him down. So it's like this. This one piece, it's will make you cry, when you watch it. So um, so that was supposed to be April 4th. Our Little Mermaid performance was supposed to be June 18th, and Don Quixote on July 29th, on July 31st. So
And of
just
course,
again,
like you have many nutcrackers, like during the Christmas season.
yeah. So we have 10 nutcrackers. So again, so just within the last year, our season ran Giselle, Capelia, Nutcracker, Carmen, Little Mermaid, Don Quixote. So we have 6 full-on classical productions that is performed by our pre-professional students and younger students as well
In like Orlando or like
in Orlando.
around Florida? Like do you
We
travel
mostly
in
perform
Florida?
in Orlando, but the Nutcracker performances we do on tour too. So we have about 3 performances local, and we about do have 7 shows, 7 to 8 shows that are between Orlando and Miami. So Sunrise, Stewart, Miami, Fort Lauderdale. So we kind of have our stages there that we perform for the audience.
And your school has very novel like teaching methods, virtual classes, maybe even before like COVID-19, right?
We
Like, can you tell
do.
us
I
about
am a
that?
partner. I'm one of the founders of our interactive Academy of the Performing Arts. In 2014, I had a gentleman who walked into my studio. It was right before the summer. Before the summer, his name is Ricardo Conchola. He walked in and he had this idea about this dream about starting an interactive academy for students that are not only um, local and who live in the big cities, but also to introduce performing arts to kids around the world. They could be just because in the bigger cities you have, it's more convenient for you to have ballet, karate, theater, all the different activities, extracurricular activities that are in your area. In the smaller cities or in the different countries, especially third world countries, you don't have the same opportunities, so kids don't get introduced to the performing arts or get exposed to the performing arts the same way. Also, if you have not grown up in the performing arts, most likely, if me and my husband were not in the performing, did not grow up in a performing arts family, most likely my kids would not be introduced to the performing arts either. So that's where the Interactive Academy came as an inspiration for them to be able to join an online program, for them to be introduced about music, theater, ballet, acting, singing, Irish dance, um, and for them to be inspired in something so that their parents can see the different interests that are developed within the younger generation, and for them to be able to pursue it, seriously, or take a next step, and invest into that drive that takes them, to get somewhere after they've been introduced to it. But if they never get introduced to it, you never know if your kid is ever uh, has interest in it. So that's how it
Right.
came in, and we started working on it. We have all the softwares, everything's been ready and developed. We have professors and scientists from around the world, that are on our team with NetStairs. They have.
Like I want to emphasize that this is all before Corona
Oh, this
pandemic,
is
right?
2014. So this is,
Okay.
so we've been working on this since 2014. We've been broadcasting live classes. We have our international clients, international students who train. We have thousands of hours of data of class information and this. So people have been taking ballet classes, not just ballet, but singing and dancing and acting for the last 5 years through our interactive academy. And then the COVID hit. When the COVID hit, everybody turned into Zoom or other broadcast, Zoom or other live streams like Instagram Live, Facebook Live. But we already had our system already lined up. So our students, all they had to do, they got a link and they signed up to our interactive classes, and we continued, like we've never stopped. Uh, we had to shut down the studio. We were not physically were able to come in here and hold the students here during the pandemic, but we continued our virtual classes that are um, uh, we were virtual class through our interactive. And if you go to my Facebook page, you can see some of the videos that are that are shot on my balcony in my house. I have a very pretty house that is located downtown in the country club Spring Lake community.
Mhm.
But on my second floor, I have a balcony that is it's about 600 square foot balcony. So I turned it into a studio. So we actually had full on classes on my balcony while we were teaching, um, all the virtual classes.
Right. So is there like any demand from like other schools to adapt your technology?
No, it's just it's the thing is like it is our programming. It is not released nationally yet. It's just because there's, of course, to build programs um, like Zoom, for example. Zoom is very
Hmm.
popular, but they also have uh, I think Zoom is by Yahoo, right? I think that's who.
That's a like separate company for now.
Yeah, but Zoom, is bought is owned by, yeah. Well, anyways, one of the bigger
Hmm.
corporations, that have
Right.
unlimited resources. We're a small business, we don't have unlimited resources, so our, you know, we um, so we have our clientele. It's not national, with or publicly known Zoom, because you do need millions of dollars to invest into marketing, into building that. We don't have that, but we do have quite a few. We have a few thousand students, um, that take classes and train with our interactive program.
And like I also saw that you have like community outreach programs for like underprivileged children.
We do. So we have outreach program is very big in the United States. Period. So we ballet is not something that is um, the most common. activity for kids, and also it's not the cheapest. So not for an average middle lower class family to put their kids through ballet, it's not the most wisest expense, if that makes sense. So
Mhm.
by not putting the kids into the performing arts, we slowly starting to lose um, just the respect for the arts, and the community is slowly starting to die. So to keep that, we try to offer as many classes as possible that are and programs that are possible for students to be able to still continue and develop their love and passion for the performing arts. We started Project Releve. Project Releve is a free it's a free program for kids ages 2.5 through 6, 7.
Like it raises them, right?
Correct. Relevant. Yes, it raised. You got it. So everybody asks me, so they're like, well, why is that relevant? I'm like, well, it means raise. So you raise them from these little kids, but it's raised not just in ballet, it's raised in passion, in your heart, in exposure. It raises your exposure to the things, that I want the kids to love what they do and love their training and their experience at the Russian ballet, because if they have a good experience, they're going to put their kids into the school and continue supporting the performing arts. If you have a bad experience in the ballet studio, I'm not going to put my kids in it. When I get older, when I have kids, I won't. So my son is 5, and I had a great experience. I have great experience, with the ballet, and my son takes ballet classes. He does BMX, tennis, water skiing. He does professional BMX and ballet. So he does all of the above, and ballet is probably the most disciplined activity that he's done. And he's 5. He goes on stage and remembers all the dances. I have videos of him doing pieces, dancing like the same dances that a 9, 10-year-old does, and he's 5, and he does better than them. uh,
Yeah.
so so those programs are also started because when I had my son, I was a new mom, and I realized that there's not a lot of free programs there's not a lot of convenient programs for young children. If your kid is 3, 4 years old, there's nothing for the kids before 3. Period. Majority of the schools don't even take them in until they're 4 or 5. But even at 3 years old, if he wants to take a karate class, you have to pay the registration fee. You have to pay the karate uniform. You have to pay first and last month. Then you have to set up an auto pay. I mean, you automatically at 3 years old, you are signing up your kid for an activity, and you are minus $200-300 out of your account. And then 2 weeks later, you figure out your son hates karate or whatever, any other activity or ballet, whatever it is. And so it becomes very difficult for middle lower class families to afford of testing out a hobby for your activity for your son to do and spend $200-300 every time he wants to try something new. So that's where the Project Releve came into provision, into reality, is that to
Mhm.
give before they sign because I'm one of those schools that charges registration fee. You have to have a uniform. You have to have first month tuition. So I'm one of those businesses that also requires that $200-300 before your kid starts ballet. But before they start, I want them to truly, especially for the younger age, I want them to truly know that that's what they want to do. And I want to make sure that parents feel comfortable investing into the Russian ballet based on what they have experienced it and tried out. So they get a chance to do up to they every second and fourth Sunday of the month. We've been running these free programs. It's 15 people per class, and we have 3 different groups. As soon as the registration opens on Wednesday, right before the Sunday class, all 45 spots fill in within a minute and a half. Like it's they're gone. I mean, and there's about 20 people on a waiting list for every single class. So it's a very popular program, very convenient, and uh, parents just been very grateful and supportive because again, when I started the program, I said, I'm right there with you. I'm starting this program because I'm a mom who is frustrated and not to be able to have my kid try something and to know for sure that this is an interest that I want to pursue. So,
Mhm. So my next question is from a teacher to a teacher. Okay.
Ah,
I am also teaching, but economics,
yes.
social sciences. So, like, what do you think about teachers, about the students of this like new generation? Like in my case, like like compared to like our generation, they feel like more entitled, right? Like we are all like number one.
Yes.
Like how do you kind of like push them, like for like ballet, like you have to push them, especially like coming from uh, a Vagonova like method, right? Like
Correct.
how does it work with like American students, where like the parents and the school system just emphasizes that like they are all like winners all the time.
Okay, so yes, you're very right. That it's different to work with the modern modern generation. But the thing is, generations change. So the way my grandparents were raised is not the same way that my parents were raised. My parents, my sister was, even though we only have 10 years difference between us, she was raised totally different. Generations change. And as generation change, you have to adapt to the generation. It doesn't mean you have to be like them, but you have to adapt and understand. You have to understand the difference, of how you were trained and how you were trained and how you should teach the new kids. Um, for example, the approach is very different. We were not. My sister was approached by her teachers with very negative way, kind of in you will be nothing. You have to inspire you to work hard. They were very harsh on them mentally, so it develops a lot of a lot of insecurities, that stick with you for the rest of your life. Um, there are with me, I did not get as hard. Um, my training, my teachers were not as hard on me, definitely as hard as they were on my sister and my parents. But when I started teaching, I had a different approach. I'm a very strict teacher. It's my way, and my way is this. But I am a I found a way how to connect with the students. I am very sarcastic, so I make lots of jokes. My analogies are. They told me that my kids even have a book for all of the analogies that I have. I have said it should be published one of these days. There are so many weird things, that, oh, don't, your arms look like your hamster came out of the dryer, so things like that, pterodactyl arms, so there's weird hunchback, there's weird things, that I give, that it sticks to the kids. You can tell them, point your foot, straighten your knees, for example, like straight knees, right? So, I can't get my leg up here, but imagine, say, this is the leg, right? And
Mm-hmm.
when they do a certain combinations like planche, when they stand on one leg and they go down, right?
Right.
So the kids, it's very hard for them to hold balance. But to hold balance, you have to have a very strong supporting leg. It needs to be like a pole, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when I do that, so when your leg is relaxed over the knee, there's like a little, like you can grab a little knee fat, right? You
Mm-hmm.
can grab it like that, and but it's like right here. It's on the knee. So they're standing at a desk, and I have this thing. I'm like, knee fat, and they're like, oh, my knees are not fat. I'm like, no, 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 it's not the knee fat, and it's just the thing. But it makes sense. It clicks to them.
Mm-hmm.
The certain analogies, that you make it understand, and the kids find it warming and comfortable. So instead of you walking around and smacking their leg and saying, you're nothing, or you're crap and you can't dance, you give them analogies that are more, they're a little bit, oh, that's the way I approach it. I give them analogies that are sarcastic, that are they're funny, but it also makes them stick. So when they do class, they remember those things. And also, you have to remind them that nobody is perfect. I have my strength and I have my weaknesses. There's not such a thing as a perfect thing. Even the least the strongest person in the class, the best dancer in the class, still has her weaknesses. And one of the students that is not on the top, she still has something that the press person doesn't have. And for them to make it, for them to make understanding, that there's no difference between you and me. Now, one person can work harder and can dance better and will get higher, better opportunities, but it does not mean that they're better than you. So there's, I don't know. I did not like the self-esteem, the destruction of your self-esteem being a positive thing growing up.
Mhm.
So when I met my husband, he said, I thought, you were, when I first met you, I thought you were the most beautiful, most confident, strongest person I have ever met in my entire life. Not until I got to know you. He goes, oh my gosh, you are the most insecure person I have ever met. I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm Katerina. There's me. I have that. When you come into the room, it's my room. I own it. I own my company. I'm very proud of it. But there are certain insecurities and self-esteem issues, that are not just physical, they're emotional too. They're very mental.
Mhm.
And I don't want, and I'm 35 years old and I still have those issues, and I have to live with those issues till the rest of my life. I don't want my kids to have, I don't want my students or anybody who comes in, or anybody who I raise, to have those issues as they get into the adult life, because it is hard. Life is already hard as itself, so you don't need to be
Definitely.
cocky and feel that you're the best. No, you're not the best. I'm not going to make you feel that you're on the top of the world, because you're not. Nobody is. But to be able to feel confident in you, and understand that you're not perfect, but you're still,
That's all right. That's all right.
yeah, it's
Like,
okay. Come on, my
uh,
ears are bigger than yours, so what? That means I can hear better. Just as
I
simple.
think same thing for me. As I get older, especially, I mean, I feel like I am not too hard on the students. I'm like, like as you say, like life is already like difficult. I mean,
It is,
like
yeah.
we are just fine.
And you don't need it, especially for women, for girls, for young girls. Our watching all the social media, uh, these models and music videos, and how the women are all have to be so perfect, and this, it, it's the girls, try to live up to that, but that's a fake world. That's TV. That's not reality. So we, and I think the world in here, I think the kids in here should be taken under a very, very caring consideration in their
Hmm.
bring ups, but also, but not easy. I do think a lot of the things are being very taken easy on the kids. Kids nowadays don't know, I don't feel most of them know what ethics of work is, what it's like to work hard, how to sweat. Um, Parents take it very easy on the kids. So when they're here, you work. You have to work. You don't just come and do class. Your responsibilities when you sign up for my classes is not just to do class and leave. No, you clean class. You do class. You clean up your cubby. You do this. We all have activities throughout the studio. They all take turns. Of replacing the toilet paper and making sure the AC is clean. Making sure once a week. They take turns every day who sweeps the floor. So they don't just do class because that's what they're paying for. They put in
Hmm.
extra. And when you put in extra, you respect it more, you appreciate, because you actually put more effort into the school, and you become a part of it. It's, again, it doesn't become just a place for you to go to. It becomes yours because you take pride in what you do when you're here. So
Yeah. Can we talk about your student profile? Like they have a lot of chances to perform as a student, and I know that ballet industry is extremely competitive. So, like, what kind of opportunities do they have
okay,
after school?
so again, because we have so many performances, um, the kids very much aware of who is the best one in class and who is the worst one in class. And the discouragement of the kids who feel less, is not. It's very. It saddens me a lot. So um, I try to give opportunity for all of the dancers to have experience to perform something. For example, if we have the Nutcracker performance and we have 10 shows, right? We have some of the main ones, some of the bigger ones, the ones on the bigger stages, more prestigious. But then we have some of the smaller shows like on tour. So I put my strongest cast, my strongest dancers into the main performances. But then, the kids who are not as strong, or they're just a little bit too young, maybe in the next year or two they'll be able to dance that part, but right now they can't. So I give them the secondary shows. So a person who is not as technically strong as, so for example, Sarah is one. Sarah is the principal dancer, and then we have Susie, who is like, will be there in like 2-3 years. Some of the smaller shows I give to Susie to be able to at least learn how to perform them. So opportunity, I share the opportunities, and I try to inspire all the kids in you to be able to perform and share their roles. Because also, in reality, 99% of the dancers who ever do ballet don't make it to the professional world at all. So the
And
competition is extraordinary, and it is, I mean, it is head on. I mean, you will have 300 dancers auditioning for one spot in the company. What are your chances of getting in? There's none. There's it's very slight unless you're like the best of the best. So they don't make it.
and like I want to remind you that you promised to give me a role, even though I am not dancing,
The,
like
oh
some
yes,
special.
oh I have a role for you. I have tights as well.
Like I'm not sure about the title.
You have to have tights. My God, you will feel all lifted up.
Like, can we talk about your international like collaborations? As far as I remember, you did some choreographies in Egypt,
Yes,
right?
so I've done them in local uh, national like here Florida schools, as well. But I have I have created for gymnastics. It's the largest school. Excuse me. It is the largest school in Egypt. They have, I think, actually I've spoken to. So when I was there, they had over 830 kids. Now they have, I think have 1,400 kids right now. As this year, actually spoke to her yesterday. I had to find out her amount of kids that she has, and how many of kids have performed my performances. So it's a big school. They have about 15 structures. But again, remember how we had a conversation about having a good teacher? It is almost impossible. So what I do, I created their curriculum. I wrote out, first year, second year, third year, everything that you need to do, even from the preparation, even for the little ones as well, like the 4 or 5 year olds. I go in there and I teach teach the intensives for the intermediate and advanced students, and then um, I run a training program for their teachers. So I take a beginner class. For example, I take the 4 year old class, or the 6 year old class, and the 8 year old class. I do and I use few their levels to teach and educate the instructors. There are 50 instructors, they have plus, to educate them and go through the program of what you're supposed to do as a teacher, how you're supposed to teach, how you approach this, how you stretch their neck. Don't do this, do this. So I pretty much show them and explain to them and teach them how to approach and how to give the basic for the foundation of ballet.
Can you compare like ballet culture among the countries that you have danced, like the passion of the audience or the understanding?
Yeah, so Europe has the most support of the performing arts. It is there's not the same, not an audience that like it is in Europe. It just that the people, even if you look into the audience while you're dancing, the expression on their face is it's just the joy, So because United States, you cannot compare United States to Europe. It's a baby country comparing to Europe, so it doesn't have the same background and hundreds of years of history for the performing arts. So you cannot expect the people in this country to react to the performing arts the same way as it is in Europe. So people enjoy, people like it. I do have to adjust the performances, based on what the audience like, not what the classical introduction of the performance was. Um, but it's definitely joyful to do it here, because when we perform, it becomes a little bit more of a challenge to get them excited, and to also enjoy introducing the performing arts to this community. Um, when it comes to South America, South America has smaller venues, but it's a much more appreciated. We I think in all of the stages that I've performed in South America, it was we were mostly worshipped. So it was nice after the performance. They looked at us like we were, you were gods. So where in Europe, you're respected as a dancer, as a professional, and in Europe and South America, it was more of like worshipped.
Right.
In Asia, was the Asians respect performing arts very much. So there's a huge public, but it was not as, but it's a different, it's different. I didn't perform as much in as an adult in Asia, so I cannot really give you the adult perspective of what I think the performances are there.
And
Does that make sense?
you're not just, it makes sense. Uh, you're not just the artistic director, you are also business owner.
Yes.
So, like, how is it like, especially during this like pandemics, to
It,
have like a growing and successful business, and maybe you even have competition with your family, right? In a sense.
there's no competition between my family. Just no. No, the thing is, I don't look at my family as a competition. This is my family, So if I have something that is, again, I have a beautiful 8,000 square foot studio. Their studios are a little bit smaller, but my parents have more experience. My mom is 78, my dad is 71. They have a lifetime, two of my lifetimes of experience in this industry, something that I will never have, something that I will never gain. Um, but and my sister, she has a different perspective, so it's not a competition, it's just different. Our kids, we have the same students, we have the same interests, we do similar performances, it's just a different approach. So I don't see it as a competition. I also,
Family competition, I meant.
yeah, maybe within the family, but otherwise, I don't look at it at all, because I'm kind of happy where where I'm at. So I don't consider anybody a competition.
Yeah.
So just because my business and my business strategy is so different. It is, you can open up a school across the street from my office, and I'll still be here. I have Orlando Ballet, our city's company, is right down the street. It's a mile down the street. They're not a competition. They're professional school. They're a professional company. They do have a school just like mine, but their school does not do performances. There's no other school in the United States, probably, or in the world, who do as many performances and as many shows as we do. It's a skill, that is very few people have, and I was very fortunate to be able to accomplish it and to be able to succeed in it. Now, am I the best teacher? I'm not. There's always going to be somebody better than you. But I'm the teacher who cares. I'm the teacher who loves my kids, who loves what I do, and loves the performances. And teaching and running a school is very hard. It's you, and then also trying to have a family at the same time. My husband is constantly mad at me that I spend more time at work than at home. So, but it's a compromise that you have to, it's not a compromise, it's something, it's life, you have to balance it out. So yes, the business part is very hard. um it, the the expenses are tremendous in my studio. They're higher than uh, most of the schools in Orlando, if not all. Um, but so running a business, trying to gain students, trying to build programs, trying to inspire, to do a lot of promotional work and outreach community performances, free performances, and how to gain students, marketing. So from building your website to running communications through to all your clients and programs, canceling classes, making classes, switching to virtual. It's all a one person
Uh,
decision. And it was hard for the last couple of years because I was doing it all by myself. I always did it by myself, but I had a pretty good administrative office for all of the years to kind of help me on top of it. And it hasn't been the same in the last couple of years until just recently. I've hired a wonderful lady. Her name is Cheryl. She's sitting right here. So Cheryl, she was administrative director at Boca Ballet, and Dan and Jane, the artistic directors of Boca Ballet, they are good friends. They have given a lot of opportunities for my family when we first moved here to perform, to teach, and for my sister's husband and my sister to, they invited them as guest artists to perform there. So we do owe them a great gratitude, great big thank you for giving us, helping us and to make it in this country. And now to have one of their very valuable people to be working at the Russian Ballet is definitely a plus. And she, I think, my business, my running a business character, not care position is going to be much easier with her here. So I'm super excited, that our new 2021 season, which is our 20th season, is going to be on a very good track, even though the coronavirus hit and we lost a lot of the students, and it's definitely uh, went through a very difficult couple of months to be able to make it as a business, because I know a lot of schools have not made it and they have failed and closed their doors, but we are still here, and we classes are full. They're filling back up every day. We are getting more and more students. We have a lot of kids who are now starting to fly back in internationally for the summer intensives, which were all of them canceled their flights because their countries did not allow them to leave. And now slowly the airports are opening up, so they're able to come into the country and train with us from different. So we are very optimistic,
Mhm.
with. But running a business is very hard because I'm not just a teacher. I'm a choreographer, artistic director, and also a janitor. I do have to take out the trash, if I if I see something that I don't like in there. I hold all the pants. I hold all the
And
positions.
you have a degree in business and marketing, right, from
Correct.
UCF?
Yes, so I ended up getting. I did not wanted to go to school for dance. I was a little bit of a um, cocky little 17-year-old who thought, I could run their ballet program in college better than they can. So I wanted to go for theater. I wanted to be an actress, to be on the red carpet, to be in Hollywood. And I auditioned to Juilliard. I ended up receiving an 85% scholarship to Juilliard for theater, and my mom did not let me go. She said, "What are you going to be? A struggling actress and a bartender at night?" And I'm like, "Yes, that's what you're supposed to do, right? You're 17, 18 years old. You move to New York and you try to survive and you eat beans and dry ramen noodles, right? That's kind of like you've seen it on TV so many times. But she did not let me go, and I did not. I was very angry at my mom for that
Mhm.
year because it's an opportunity of a lifetime. Juilliard is just one of the best conservatories in universities there. So to
Definitely.
miss that opportunity was definitely like a stab in the heart. But if I
That could
would
have
have.
been like something other than ballet that you might have done, I
Correct.
suppose.
I've never gotten exposed to anything else. I was born in ballet world. That's all I did. So I've never tried anything else until I got into high school and learned better English, and I joined a drama club. So my senior year, I was a thespian, a part of the drama club, and acting. I got my lead role in Midsummer Night's Dream. I was the Titania. I have no idea how at 17 I memorized with barely very limited English. I memorized Shakespeare. And so
Seriously.
yeah, I
Wow.
mean I have to it's a long script. It's the main part in Midsummer Night's Dream. So I had to memorize and my teacher told me years later that they cut out a lot of my lines because I could not pronounce them properly. So I'm like, thanks for letting me know now. I thought I did so good by memorizing all the lines, and then they tell me the truth that they actually like cut whole half of my script because I could not remember or I could not even pronounce it right. But that's what it developed my interest towards doing something else. And I was really good at acting. I was very enthusiastic and very had a good character. But she let me go, so I ended up going to UCF, and I changed my major to business marketing because, again, you don't at 17, 18 years old, you have no idea what you want to do. You don't know how your life is going to turn out. But the way I looked at it, why should I go for ballet? Ballet, I already know everything about ballet. I have better teachers, than any university can ever have. So what can I go for to actually make myself a better, stronger, smarter individual? And so I did. I started taking business marketing classes, to be able to learn the business part of it. And I did not finish it because it was just a lot, with work, but I took my share of classes and learned a good foundation of it, so it definitely helped me to become the business person I am today based on what I have learned in school. So if I didn't have that, I would not have the same understanding of how to run a business.
Yeah, I think we had so many talk about ballet. I mean, my next question is like more personal. What do you do like in your spare time? I mean, you have quite busy schedule, but
Dream of
anything for
ballet. No, just kidding. Okay, so um, I have a 5-year-old son who is absolutely incredible. I know every parent says that about their kids, but mine is really incredible. So he's 5. My husband and I, we're both tall, so he's really tall for his age. He's 4'2", 4 feet 2 inches, which is an average 6, 7 year old kid. So he's on the same, but he's been since 2 years old. He's been doing BMX, and
Mhm.
BMX is it's a so he's been riding a bicycle with no training wheels. He never had training wheels since he was 2. He took off, and now he's been training and racing not professionally, but with pros. He
Mhm.
he does everything. We support him a lot because my bring up was very limited. I was only introduced to one thing and one thing only. It limited me to the things. It limited. I became limited. So not until I got into my 20s, I started exploring. So I started to, got my scuba diving license. I I ride motorcycles. I'm a ballerina on a motorcycle. I have uh, a year
That
ago.
could be like a cool Instagram account, by the way.
Oh, what? Yeah,
Like ballerina, like motorcycle. Like
motor.
you,
Oh,
you,
it
you
is.
could like ride with like point shoes.
Yes, I know. Well, you don't want to see me in a tutu anymore. I'm retired. Just like you don't want to be in wearing tights, and I don't think I want to wear a tutu. Um, but I don't just have a bike, it is a Ducati. So it's a Ducati
Oh,
Pinot V4S. So it is like the top-notch motorcycle, and it's red. Her name is
yeah.
Lola. And
Yeah, like I have just a Vespa. I mean, it's no comparison. Like you don't call Vespa like motorcycle, I
Yeah,
suppose, you know.
no, it's a scooter. It's a scooter. My husband rides too. My husband rides too. He has a Triumph, the British bike. But we also have a Vespa. Also, it's a cute little white Vespa, and the reason why we got that is because we can put our son in the middle. So he rides, So Tom holds it, and Depler sits in the middle with his helmet, and they are like little. We take Depler, so to take him to the park or to the restaurant because we live downtown, so it's very easy for us it's much more convenient for my husband to take our kid to go eat or go to the park, taking Vespa than jumping into his truck because the parking downtown is a little bit harder than in other places. But so my passions are supporting my kid a lot. We spend a
Mhm.
lot of time on BMX track. We travel all around the country. We have this thing that we take a road trip, and we take our kid to different skate parks for him to practice on the bike inside the skate parks, scooter, and skateboard. So we would take those 3 things: his BMX bike, his regular skateboard, like a regular bike, where he can jump inside the ball and do all those little tricks. His skateboard and his scooter, and we travel like to 5 or 6 different skate parks all the way from Florida, Georgia, South and North Carolina, Tennessee, and then we come back around. We live in Florida, so definitely water skiing is one of those things, that we
Mhm.
like to get out on the lake a lot. Um, we train with professionals in Sarasota BMX track. We do what else do we do? Wow, it seems like everything is around your kid. Do you have kids? Do
No,
you-
no, I am single.
okay,
I have no kids.
so my personal my hobbies before my son were very different.
Mhm.
Now it all revolves around your kid, and then you see your kid grow up every day, and seeing them progress. He ended up winning a second place in the state championship with BMX. He took second place out of 64 5-year-olds. So, and So I'm very proud of him. And then we are preparing for our next race, because they just after the COVID, they just now opening up the skate parks. So we are preparing for our North Carolina race, which is going to be a national race. So it's going to be all of the states around the country going to be in this race. So we are preparing for that right now. So that's my hobby as of right now, is BMX and being the BMX mom with pom-poms and maybe a mommy drink on the side too.
For me, like ballet and having interviews with artists like you, that's my hobby.
Yeah. Yeah, see, I have motorcycle, kid, and ballet. So
Yeah, that's I didn't hear such contrast before. I mean,
yeah, no, my
I
husband
had
calls me a walking contradiction. So everything that you think I am, I'm also have a complete opposite side that contradicts with everything that I come off of.
in a way like ballet is also opposite for me. I mean, I'm teaching mathematics and economics.
Yeah.
That's kind of quite opposite in a sense. So like now stay home is the motto, right? So like how do you keep yourself and your students motivated, especially in these strange times?
Well, it's definitely, well, we have a very active family. So we found a way for the last couple of months, my husband and I, we found a way to, our kid is very active. So we found many different ways, to always stay active. We take bicycle rides. We found trails, go mountain biking. Again, everything opposite from what a ballerina does, mountain biking. Um, but water skiing, we found different things to do throughout the day, but also I still have to teach virtual classes, so I'll teach virtual classes in the morning. My staff, my teachers will teach the virtual classes throughout the afternoon, and then I get a chance throughout the afternoon, I would do his virtual online school. So Depler still has, my son Depler Bain, he has he didn't get a chance to graduate. His graduation was supposed to be today, and we ended up driving through the school loop and waving to all the teachers this morning. So that was his graduation. But until then, he still had to do the class and school, and in the evening when the sun went down, it's a little bit hot in Florida right now throughout the day. They're like very hot. So we have to wait until about 5, 6 o'clock before we can do anything to get out. It's not miserable. The beaches are now open, so we go to the beach a lot. Not to rub it in to everybody who, yes, Florida is absolutely amazing. It's the best state in the best state in the U.S. We have the best beaches. It's an hour this way and an hour that way. You can reach a beach, within 30 minutes to an hour, and plenty of lake.
Unfortunately, Turkey is having more like stricter like quarantine.
Yeah, we
So I
we
am usually home.
yeah, it is in some parts in our country as well, but in Florida, has been a little bit more. It has, at least I did not feel so restricted eh, as some people have. I do have some crazy friends, who I refuse to even open up a window in their house, but then we are the people who ride bicycles without masks, so. But we're not coming around anybody. It's just us on the open air riding a bicycle in our neighborhood, and it should not be a problem, So, or us taking a boat out and going skiing on the lake that we want to be, So we kind of end up not having as much trouble and did not feel locked up, if that makes sense. Because I did have.
So like as I'm home, for example, I am reading a lot of books more than I used to,
Usually.
and I watch Netflix. I see that you are outdoors person, but like, do you
Oh,
have some indoor activities? Any
oh yeah,
books?
Netflix. It's called Netflix and champagne. Netflix and champagne. Those are my indoor activities. And besides, um,
Like any recommendation from a ballerina and like a cyclist?
oh gosh, recommendations of what to watch on Netflix. So, oh my god. Oh,
Your favorite book? That's another question.
okay. So I end up um, finishing this series. Well, I love Walking Dead. So Walking Dead is one of my. I'm waiting for the new season to be released. But there's a new series, not a new series, called that I just finished watching called Fauda, Fauda, I think it's called, and it's a Middle Eastern movie about like the terrorists and stuff like that. And it was very, it gives you us, it's a side of the world that I have not explored. So I have not been to those countries. So for me, being, very, um, what do you call it? Very cultural, when it comes to being traveled, and I haven't been to that side of the world, so for me, I watched it with like I couldn't stop. I think I watched all 3 seasons, within like a week. I couldn't get away from it. We like my family likes Marvel movies, so we are a big fan of Disney Plus. So Netflix, we watch the same typical stuff that everybody else watches. Not really a fan of. I'm not. I don't really have. I'm not a fanatic person when it comes to a certain book or a certain ballet, a certain music that I have to listen. I'm again a walking contradiction. Towards I'm so passionate about this, but I don't have a favorite musician. I don't have a favorite ballet. I don't have a favorite composer or a favorite movie. Okay, favorite movie. Victor Victoria is my favorite movie of all time. It's like it's an old
Yeah.
80s, 90s or 80s,
So
I think.
in a way, like I have this similar attitude. My favorite ballet today, at this second, something.
Do you
It
have
can
it?
change.
Oh, I know
Yeah.
it does too, but there's so many. There's like La Bayadere is one of my favorites, but then how can you compare the Bayadere to Carmen? But then Swan Lake, the music of Swan Lake, it's just oh, and Don
You cannot
Quixote,
beat that.
exciting. There's just so many
Right.
ballets, that is better than another. So I don't have a favorite one.
By the way, Katya, I mean, we broke our streaming like record. It looks like we will keep talking and talking, but unfortunately, we are like running out of time.
I
So,
completely understand.
let's end with the kind of like motivational, like some remarks to the younger dancers. So,
Um,
from you.
from me, well, one of the things I think it's not just goes, to towards dancers in particular, towards because I'm not just a dancer. I'm a woman. I'm a mom. I'm a wife. Um, I'm a business owner. And one of the things that I live with, is that I believe, don't stop believing in yourself and in your dreams. If you want something and you really believe in something, it's not impossible. Keep on pushing it and keep believing in it. Because if you believe, then everything is, it doesn't shut you down. It doesn't shut your doors and your hopes. Um, so keep on for the dancers. Keep on dancing, no matter if you think you're gonna make it or not. If you have what it takes, or if you don't, keep on dancing. It'll make you a better person by continuing doing something that you love. If you don't love it, don't do it because you're forced to, because then it does not become a part of your heart. It's becomes work. And as they say, if you love what you do, you never work a day in your life. I
Definitely.
don't think my job is work. It is my life, and I have not worked a day in my life yet.
Great. Like great insights. And thank you so much for this beautiful and
Yeah.
inspiring talk. We learned a lot from you, and as a dancer, teacher, choreographer, artistic director, and business owner, like you have it all.
Oh,
So
thank you,
uh,
thank you.
I
I
think
I try.
I thank you so
I
much.
keep believing in it. All right. Well,
So
thank you so much, you.
and I hope like we will meet again,
I look
and I
forward to
will
it.
like I will be on your stage in
Yes,
Orlando
and
one
I
day.
will have those tights ready for you. If you wear the tights, I'll wear the tutu. Is that a deal?
I promise.
Okay, I
For-
can't promise that, but I will try.
okay.
Okay, well,
A
thank you
great
so
meeting with
much.
you.
My
Take
pleasure.
care.
Okay, bye.
Goodbye.
Okay, bye.